So one thing people always request whenever I make these YouTube videos, make the TikToks, and even when I'm live on stream is how do I actually make these Twitch designs? Now, what I've been thinking is I'm gonna create a brand new series on this channel that's gonna be basically called How To with Holmescope. And I'm gonna teach you guys how to actually create these stream packages that I do all the time. So today we're gonna start with probably the simplest part to a Twitch stream package, and that's actually the panels, mainly because there's no animated elements involved. And it's something that I can show you guys very easily that you can create for your stream, kind of do a little test run with it, and I think it'll go a long way. So let's get right into it. Now for today's video, we're gonna be using Adobe Photoshop mainly because that's what I've been using my whole design career. Now there are other options compared to Photoshop that you can use. There are free options out there and even much cheaper ones. But the thing is that some of the tools that we're gonna be using in today's video that are strictly for Photoshop may not translate over to these design programs. So use them at your own discretion. You should be able to get away with using these other design programs though, mainly because creating panels is something that is very simple, and there's usually a really easy way to work around them regardless of the program that you're using. So, little disclaimer for that. One thing we need to know before we just hop right into Photoshop is the actual sizing of these panels. Now, the width of each one has to be fixed. Twitch won't let you upload any one that isn't 320 pixels wide. However, the height can always be adjusted. You'll notice that with a lot of panels that people do are just straight up rectangles that are like pretty much long ones. It's 320 wide by like 160 pixels tall, I think. But when you adjust the height, now you can start adding in different boxes ones and get really creative. We're gonna go ahead and utilize that today, especially with some of the more descriptive panels, ones that might have a lot of details to them. We might wanna actually add in more information to it. So we're gonna create taller boxes and then add in some different elements that are gonna make them really pop out and stand out for your stream. Now that we got all that covered, let's hop right into Photoshop, get this thing started. All right guys, so here we are in Photoshop. Now what we want to do is create a brand new document and actually go over to the right side of this panel and change the sizing to 320 wide, and then I'm changing mine to 150 high because we're going to start off with the little rectangles, and then moving forward, probably to create more panels later on in this video, we're going to create taller ones. The orientation is obviously going to be landscape. The resolution, we're going to keep 300 pixels per inch. Typically with RGB images, back when I was in school at least, you needed to make them 72 so that way they would load up on whatever website you're going to put them on quicker. But with how far we've come, especially with just computers, technology in general, you can get away with using 300 DPI for anything that would be used on your screens and it'll work totally fine. So I'm gonna keep mine at 300 because it'll actually still look better rather than just keeping it at 72. Color mode, you wanna keep it at RGB, and then everything else should be just fine. So then you can click create, and now we are in our Photoshop document. So now that we have our canvas ready, we wanna start actually basically creating the whole design. So what you want to do is actually click the T, which is the type tool over in your toolbar, and you can type out something. We'll do about me as the first one. So you're gonna adjust the size by pressing Control T, and that will help you adjust the size of the text, the position of it. But what you could also do is go to Window, Character. Now I already have my character panel out over here. And when you double click on your text, you can adjust the actual font size of it. Right here, you can adjust the leading in between the letters, and then a multitude of other things. But right now, I think that looks good for what we need it for. And what I want to do is actually create a lighter text with a darker background, because I think that's going to look a lot cleaner. So what I'm going to do is go over to my layers panel here and click on my background layer, and then go to Layer, New Fill Layer, Solid Color. Now this ensures that it goes above our background layer. And I'm going to choose something that is not a rich black because it ends up looking a little too rich. I mean, same word, but you get what I'm saying. So I chose something that's a little bit darker gray, which I think will actually look better. And I want to go for something that's maybe even red would kind of be a nice look, but not too harsh red, because again, it's gonna be too rich and won't look as clean. So I have a little bit of a faded look to it, and that's good. So now what we want to do is double click on the text layer, and we will get a multitude of all of these layer styles. Now what we want to do is play around with these. I mean, you guys can play around with them all you want. There's so many different options that you can do with these that create a whole multitude of effects. But I have an idea in mind of kind of where I want to go with mine. So I'm going to add in this inner shadow, which creates this kind of like nice little faded effect into it. I'm going to use bevel and emboss, which is basically a way to kind of give it like a 3D effect, a bit more texture to the design itself. And I mean, as you can tell, it's a very subtle look, but here, I'll zoom in. That's another thing, is that working with these panels, because they're such smaller sizes, you still do lose a little bit of resolution when you zoom in. But of course, when we actually finish them and put them up on Twitch, it's gonna look a lot cleaner. So even here right now, like you'll see that this creates this 3D look, this almost beveled edge. I mean, of course we're using bevel and emboss, but it creates a beveled edge around the text. That's the best way that I know how to describe it. And then from here, you can obviously add in a whole multitude of different effects. So we're gonna use outer glow just to give it a little bit more pop, and then use a blending mode, probably like screen, I think. Just keep testing them out until we get something that actually looks clean. Yeah, so soft light, that way it's still nice and subtle, but gives a little red glow to it. Click OK. Now, we have the text ready to go. Now what we want to do is actually create a border around the panel that kind of matches with the text. In order to add in this border, what we want to do is grab the rectangle tool, which is in the bottom of our toolbar, and click and drag from one side of the canvas to the other. Here you'll see a whole white rectangle show up. Now what you want to do is actually click A on your keyboard, and that's going to have the direct selection tool come up, which shows up as a white arrow. And you could turn the fill off and then add in a stroke of whatever color you want. In this case, we're going to use the red. I'm going to make the size down to probably about 1.96 should be just fine. I would typically make it 2, but you'll notice that it doesn't actually match up right with the edges. So what you want to do is press Control T, which will be the free transform, and adjust the size accordingly. Now, even here, you'll see that once I match it up to all the sides, the right side doesn't exactly match up. So what I'm going to do is press Control and then click on this edge until it matches up perfectly, and then the sizing should be just fine. So now what we need to do is add in the layer styles to our rectangle tool. So double click on that layer, and now we can do something like the outer glow, which is like this red, which should work just fine since it is, of course, a red border. Next, I'm gonna add in myself a gradient overlay and add in, well, I already have a red one set up here, but basically, for those of you that don't know, it creates almost like it just adds more depth to your design. It creates almost a shiny look to the border. So I'll just adjust this, add in one more color. And now you'll see that the gradient going around on the outside and adds a lot more depth to the design. And that's that. I might add in a drop shadow. Actually, no, I have something else that we're gonna plan for the actual background. So that's how we add in the border. So what we're gonna do to make this background kind of blend more into the design is we're gonna double click on our color fill layer, which just so happens to be the background, this gray. But instead of doing a gray, we wanna add in a gradient so that way there's some more depth into it. And as you can see right here, we already have some of that red and black from the stroke that we did. But this time we wanna maybe make it a radial gradient. So I'm gonna take out one of the reds and make it just like black and red right here, which to be honest, this looks kind of clean in itself with just the linear. We might end up actually using linear, but I just wanna see what the radial looks like. And so we have the red kind of in the center, which still is a pretty clean design, but I think that the linear might actually work a lot better right now because it's just such a subtle look to it. So from there, I don't think there's anything else that we really want to add to the background, so we can just kind of click OK and be fine with it. But what we want to do now, there's something that you can do with these panels that a lot of people don't do. So instead of having it just be a rectangle, you can actually adjust it so that way there's like an actual shape to your panels that helps add a lot more depth to your design and makes it look a lot more unique for your stream. In order to do this, we want to right click on our color fill layer and rasterize the layer so that way we can actually edit the shape. So when we press Control T, you can see we have the bounding box. Now when you press Control and click on these little boxes, you can actually adjust the shape. So once you're done with that, then click Enter, and then you can do the same thing with the rectangle layer up top, which is obviously the border, and then make it so that way it is the same size as the parallelogram that we just made. And then when you click Enter, and make sure it's all lined up, when you click Enter, it should be all fine. Now, what we want to do is actually click and drag our background layer to the trash can in the bottom right, and we actually delete that. So now there's a complete transparent background. You can tell that it's transparent because there's these little squares in the back that are gray and white. That's the style that we're going for, kind of like a different type of shape, just to give an idea of what you guys could actually do with these panels, all the freedom that you have to get creative with them. I'm actually gonna add in one more element that I think will look good for this design. So I'm gonna take this background layer that we have, the color fill, which is like the actual shape behind About Me. If we press Control J, it'll copy a whole brand new version of the layer. I'm gonna click and drag the layer elements to the trash can, and then I'm gonna Control T, right click, and flip horizontal. And now there's a little bit of a interesting shape, but we wanna drag it below the obvious background layer. So now, when we do this, just adjust the size just a little bit. Has a nice little shape to the background, gives it a little bit more depth, and we can change the actual color of this by, well, now double clicking, going into color overlay, and then we could change it to probably red. I think a red would look good. So now it's just one more little branding element to it that I think will look really good. One little detail the design. Now that we have our first panel done, I'm gonna show you guys how to actually export this for your Twitch stream, but then also how to create more panels that'll be in the same exact style. You just have to change the text. And then of course, I'm gonna show you guys the big version that'll be a long rectangle box that you can customize however you see fit for your stream. So for you guys to actually export this for your stream, all you wanna do is press Control, Shift, and S at the same time, and your Save As box will come up. Now, in here, I'm gonna go to wherever I wanna actually save these. So in this case, we're gonna go to the YouTube videos, how to Twitch panels, and I'm gonna create a new folder for the actual Twitch panels. So here, and I'm gonna name this one About Me. So then we just save it just like it is. So it's saved as the Photoshop file, so we can go back and edit it. Then what you wanna do is press Control Shift S again, and then save it as a PNG. We save it as a PNG because then there's actually gonna be the transparent background. You gotta make sure that there's just these gray and white boxes are showing, because that means that it's actually gonna be a transparent background. If there's anything behind that, that means that there's a layer showing or some sort of shape. Whatever's back there shouldn't be there. So you'll need to go through your layers and probably delete that. Now, if you guys wanna use the same style for all of your panels, then all you have to do is just change the text to be whatever you want it to say. So in this case, we'll put like Discord, right? Now, you just do the same exact situation that we just showed you. So we changed the name of this to Discord, and then we save the Photoshop file by using Control Shift and S. And we do it again, and this time we save it as a PNG. So now there are two different versions. We have the About Me one, we have the Discord one, and you repeat accordingly till all your panels are completely finished for you. This is why they're so simple, because once you make one template, then it's basically a template for the rest of them. Okay, now I'm gonna show you guys how to create the taller version of these panels. It's really simple. It's basically the same exact steps that you need to, but now what you wanna do is go up to File, New, and then click on the same thing from our recent items. We wanna change the height, probably to be about 500, I think would work. So 320 wide by 500 high should give us a decent size. So yeah, we have like this whole rectangle look. Now we go back to our old project and we grab everything. So we grab the top layer by clicking it, scroll all the way down and hold Shift while clicking the bottom. Then press Control C, go to your new layer, and then Control V, or your new project, not your new layer. And then you can adjust the size so that way it fits right from the top. And then make sure that you grab everything that's the rectangle shape, and then press Control T, and then you can drag it down by holding Control until you reach the very bottom. And now we have a longer panel, and you can add in a bunch of different elements. This is a very simple way to do it, but I would recommend adjusting like this background one that we just did to be something that would fit more with the longer version. So a good example for this one that I've seen people do before is that they actually make this their subscribe panel. And then they'll add in like using a second text. Here, we'll do it right now. So we'll keep it with like the same font. We'll make sure that the font color is white. And then we can add in subscribe. Here, I'm gonna use my community for this example for subscribe to the homies. And then you can start adding in like different elements. So you could do for these exclusive emotes. I'm gonna adjust the spacing in between paragraphs so that way it looks good. These exclusive emotes, just little things like that. So you can actually like showcase your emotes here. Anything that you do that you typically offer to your subscribers, whether it be like a separate Discord channel, whatever it may be, you can use these longer panels to actually offer new incentives to your viewers. Now for you guys to actually export this, you do it the same exact way that we just did. So you wanna make sure that that background layer is deleted so that way the transparent boxes are showing up, and you wanna press Control Shift S, and then you can save this as, well, I'm gonna save this as longer version in here. So you save it as the Photoshop file, click OK, and then you press Control Shift S, and then you can change it to a PNG. And then we have our version set up. Now for you guys to actually set this up on your Twitch stream, what you wanna do, here I'm gonna open up so it's a separate screen. You wanna go to Twitch, and then you wanna go to your channel. So we're gonna use mine as an example. And then you wanna go to About. When you go to the About section of your channel, there's a little section right here where you click Edit Panels. Now I already have my panel set up in here, but you can change the title, do whatever you want with them, but you click the plus sign here, and then you can do add a text or image panel, and then add image. And then you choose the files that we just did. So we're gonna go back to where we had them selected, or had them saved rather. So how to Twitch panels, and then we're gonna add in about me as an example. Click done, should work just fine. Title this about me. Actually, you don't want to add in the title because it's going to show up, and then you can have it linked to whatever you want. So you put a URL link right in there. So for example, if you're using subscribe, then you do an actual link to that. If you're using a donation, you can use Streamlabs or Stream Elements, whatever you use for it, and link it in there. As you can see, I have mine right here for Streamlabs. And then you can do a short little description. So for about me, this is where you would actually write down all the things about you, or for whatever panel you want to use, that's how you would do it. We're going to click submit, and then we can add in the next one by clicking the plus sign right next to it, and then we'll add in the longer version. So here's how the longer version looks. All you have to do is click and drag on the bounding box, and then it'll be able to show the whole thing. Then you click done, click submit. And what we're gonna do right now that these are submitted, we're gonna uncheck that edit panels over here to the left, and now you'll see that these are actually added in. So once you start editing these and start making them for yourself, you guys can get absolutely creative with the types of shapes that you want for these panels. You guys can go crazy with them, but this is how you create the basic panels for your Twitch stream. All right guys, there it is, my very first tutorial on this channel. Please bear with me because it's the first time that I've ever done this before, so I'm sure there's a lot of improvements that need to be made, but all in all, if you guys found this tutorial helpful in any sort of way, please be sure to leave a like down below and leave a comment. And let me know what you guys want to see next, especially for this series where we're doing how to with Holmescope. And again, that is it for me today, guys. I'll be sure to catch you in the next one, so love, peace, and chicken grease.